So, bought one of these hammer crimping tools because I had no way to crimp the 1.0 cable that I bought. So now I can continue making some wiring. I was gonna do the battery relocation and I started messing with this harness, trying to get it on, and then I started thinking, you know what? I think I just want to go ahead and try to get the car started. So I'm gonna leave the battery up front. And then just button everything up enough just to get it started. Just because honestly I bought a motor that I didn't even see running. So get it running, a little bit of motivation, and then from there get everything in its final place. Cool, that's tomorrow's job. Alright, I don't know why the sudden change, but the goal right now is to start the car. I don't have the return line set up yet, so I'm just gonna go into the fuel pressure regulator, then just drain it into a bucket. I need to rewire something on the ECU, and then check everything up front, make sure any fluid connections are tightened up, and then should be able to start it. Probably not tonight, but just trying to do that this week. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and start with the wiring first. So first thing I'm gonna have to do, why does this look zoomed in? First thing I gotta do is throw the engine harness on, route that in, plug it into ECU, see what I got, and I need to change one connection on the ECU patch harness. Alright, got a little carried away the other night, but I got the whole harness hooked up, all the oiling hooked up, there's no coolant in it. Got the ECU hooked up, that's reading, hook it up to a laptop, you can see all the parameters. I got everything just sitting here. I just want to start the engine, hear it, get oil pressure in it, make sure everything's looking good. Not everything isn't bolted down the way it's supposed to be. I just want to get it started, hear it, make sure everything's looking good before I go ahead and permanently bolt everything down. So the issue I'm having now is I'm turning the key and I'm getting nothing from the starter. So I'm thinking it's a neutral safety switch. I know people had problem with those when they were still using a factory wire harness, like if you had a 7M and then you were putting a manual tranny on it, they were having to do that. But I'm not sure how that works with a standalone, or if with the ignition key it still has some kind of neutral safety switch that keeps it from starting the car. So I gotta look into that. So for right now I'm just gonna jump the starter. Alright, got the car to crank, got oil coming out of the feed for the turbo. So priming the system. The next thing I got to do is get the fuel pump in and just run a temporary wire, just get that going. So I'm going to hook that up, get it sitting in the tank, run some quick wires for it just to turn it on, just get the motor running. So going to wire that up, trying to find the right length of this hose to go into the barb fitting underneath. Then I can continue to wiring it after that. Alright, got the fuel pump set up. Coming out, temporary wires, temporary battery, just to hook it up to power. There's no return on there. I'm just going to have it go to the front, go to the fuel rail, go to the fuel pressure regulator, then into a drain tank, just to get it started this time. And I'll relocate the battery to a trunk. That'll make that wiring that a little bit easier. So let me go up front. Right now I don't have it hooked up to fuel rail. I have it going into a dump right after the fuel filter. So I'm going to go up front, hook it up to the fuel rail, hook it up to the fuel pressure regulator, dump it, prime it, make sure nothing's leaking, and then try to start it. Alright, update. I'm trying to find any fuel leaks so I'm not starting the car and having fuel leak everywhere. So first I started off with just the fuel line before the fuel rail, and then I hooked up the fuel rail, and everything was looking good except for this very back number 6 injector is leaking where it goes into the fuel rail. So I think I might loosen up the whole thing, look the O-ring, make sure there's no tears in it, and then put it back down, flow some fuel through it again. If it's good, then go ahead and run the fuel pressure regulator and then run the line down as a return. Just tried to start it, didn't get anything. But I did double check the fuel system while I was at it, didn't find any leaks this time. So I think the next thing I'm gonna do is pull off one of the spark plugs, make sure I'm getting spark, and then go from there. We know the fuel's good. Now we gotta check the spark. Alright, back in the garage. Tried starting the car the other night, had no luck. So what I did is I went online and I found someone's base 2JZ VVTi map. So I loaded that in versus the one that came on the AM Infinity when I bought it with someone's. They had a stock motor, but they had it tuned and they had different. They had the LQ9 coils on it. So download the other map. I'm gonna put more fuel in the tank, make sure that's topped off, and try to start it again. I'm over here, been scratching my head pretty good. Tried grounding out the spark plugs, not getting any spark. And also I was looking at the connectors for the coils, the stock ones, and these were broken. Let's see how these look. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Busted up, it's missing a piece in the middle to separate them. And this is the only one that actually looks good. This is how it's supposed to look. So it got me thinking, you know what? I'm just gonna get rid of the igniter, get rid of these damn plugs, and I'm just gonna go ahead and try to install the Mojo LQ9 coils. Just gonna go ahead and do that right now, and hopefully that'll get me some spark. So I'm gonna go install the new coils, LQ9 coils, but they require spark plugs that do have resistors in them. Do not use non-resistors. No, yep, spark plugs need resistors on them. So I had to call a couple of local auto parts stores to find some. On my way to pick them up, go back and install it. So wait for that. All right, spark plugs, anti-seize, check. Now just to wire up the new coils. So let me get started on that. Actually, I didn't have a wiring diagram of how to hook them up, so I emailed Mojo in Australia and he responded back within 5 minutes with a diagram and instructions on how to do it. So thank you to him, thumbs up, and let me get started on that now. Fortunately, this is not a starting video. Ended up getting Mojo LQ9 coils in. Tried wiring up just one set of coils, wiring it up on wasted spark, and I'm not even getting spark. So I'm starting to get a little frustrated, beat up, so I'm just gonna wrap it up for tonight. It's early, it's only 6 o'clock. Clean up, wrap it up, walk away, do a little research, see what I can do, and try to come back fresh tomorrow. But that's it for tonight. All right, got a good update. Went online, did some research, and got a hold of my friend Phil. Give me some quick advice, and I was plugging into the wrong connector on here. Let's see if we can see it. So on here you have C1, C2, C3, and that's what I was trying to hook up to, but you actually have to hook up to the T1, T2, T3. So that's what I got hooked to now. Testing these. I'm getting spark. See if I can show you real quick. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and continue finishing wiring up all of them and then try to start it. Let's see. See if it'll pick up on camera. Awesome. Got it to work. Now finishing up, wiring up the rest of them. Alright, something else I'm doing right before I go ahead and start wiring everything in. This harness, I bought this Mojo LQ9 coil kit used, and I don't know why, but whoever I bought it from spliced these wires together. I don't know why they would have been cut in the first place, but they were soldered together then covered with electrical tape, and it looks like shit. So I'm taking off the electrical tape. If the solder looks good, I'm just putting shrink wrap over it. Makes it look a little bit better. But on one of them, it came apart. It's all down by one little strand, so I'm gonna go ahead and strip that down and resolder it together, and then put some shrink tubing on it, clean it up, and check all of them first. All right, fuel on. So I had to spray some brake cleaner in it. All right, as you can see, I got it to start, not for a long time, but started under its own power. One thing I was missing, there's this BF2 or 3 plug that needs power for the injectors. That's why I wasn't getting any fuel. So got that taken care of, and there's also another one that's for the coils. That's why the igniter wasn't working. So I was missing power on one plug that, you know, does injectors and coils. So I missed that, but put the new LQ9s in, got that figured out. So now you can see all this shim sham over here. All this is temporary. I just wanted to make sure the wiring was the way it was supposed to be, and then come in and tidy it up. So I'm gonna go ahead, pull those twist crimps off, solder those joints, solder those wires, go ahead and figure out how I'm gonna do the power off this one, see where in the fuse box I'm gonna get power from, and start to tidy this up. But got the car started, and that's the plus.
Filming.
What is it, John?
YouTube, comment, like this video if you like it. Watch some more if you don't like it. Terrible. Doing absolutely horrible.